So here's the thing. I did Rockfall in that Talonflame. Man. Guys, we win the game. Yeah. Bowerdad here, and welcome to another episode of Why Did I Lose? Video series where I thoughtfully examine my own ranked play losses in order to find better lines of play, make better decisions, and ultimately become a better player. I'd love to have you for the journey. On this particular game, we're going to see that I will crush my opponent's Dynamax as soon as they do it, but unfortunately, it was the wrong decision. Let's see how that plays out. My opponent opens the match with their Zacian and Rillaboom up against my own Landorus and Kartana. Right away, I'm in a fantastic spot, especially thanks to this Intimidate from Landorus, lowering both of their attacks. I ponder over what I'm going to do for the turn for a moment, and you'll see me here in a second. I will look at what other Pokemon my opponent has. You can see this here in a second right here. I decide that they don't really have a good switch in against Landorus, so I will immediately Dynamax and Airstream the Rillaboom in order to press this momentum that I have. Because like I said, Landorus looks like it's in a fantastic spot. With the Kartana, I decide that I'm actually going to swap it out. I feel like maybe this wasn't the best decision, but alas, it is what I did. We're going to watch Landorus get huge. And then it is going to take a little bit of damage from the Grassy Glide here from the Rillaboom. Zacian will close combat the Kyogre. That is damage that we don't want to see. Does a huge chunk of change to that Kyogre. And here I'm hoping for the one-hit KO with Max Airstream. Get the speed boost and relieve them of their Rillaboom, and it does work out just the way I had hoped. My opponent puts in their Talonflame, and we're off to a strong start. Going into the second turn, I feel like my opponent is most definitely going to set Tailwind with their Talonflame and then do something with the Zacian. So the big question on my mind is, what is the something? Can Tornadus survive the something? I want to be able to maintain an aggressive stance while also matching their Tailwind. This is where it gets interesting, because my opponent decides to Dynamax or Talonflame. I did not see this coming at all. Talonflame will max Airstream. Tornadus does survive the max Airstream, but now it's looking a little dicey. Zacian will Behemoth Blade, and luckily my Landorus is EV'd to perfection. Just kidding, I probably should have got KO'd there. I will Rockfall, and I will claim the Talonflame for my own, getting that KO, bringing my opponent down to 2 Pokemon. However, the Life Orb recoil gets me. I decide to put Kartana in to replace my Landorus. My opponent will send in their own Landorus in the face of this Kartana. Now, on this turn, I decide that I'm going to Detect with Kartana and set Tailwind with Tornadus. I think this is okay, but maybe kind of flimsy. It perhaps would have been better to swap Kartana into Kyogre in order to bail it out of the -1 attack that it just received. I think the Detect compared to the swap wouldn't have done that much otherwise, but my opponent is going to Rock Slide. Tornadus is going to go down. At this point, my Kyogre comes in, it'll set the Rain. Unfortunately, my opponent's Zacian right now is +1, so it's faster than everything except for my Kartana under Tailwind. It's going to be the only Pokemon that gets to move before Zacian gets to take its action. Looking at some of the stats in play, we got Rain, we got Grassy Terrain, etc. I decide that I'm going to Smart Strike the Landorus, and that's the only thing I'm going to get to do before this kind of falls apart. I'm shocked to see that Wild Charge from Zacian. The Wild Charge, I think, was inconsequential. It probably could have KO'd me with any strongish attack. Landorus will U-turn, doing entirely way too much damage for my comfort level. Grassy Terrain is going to heal us all up. On this next turn, I decide to Detect. There's really no hidden meaning or game plan that I have, just trying to feel out, see if there's anything that I'm able to do. You'll see me, again, checking the stats, the Rain, the Terrain, the Tailwind, etc. You'll see the Detect come out here in a moment. And Zacian actually also protects on this turn because the Landorus is going for an Earthquake. So this turn is going to be pretty much a skip. Nothing of real consequence happens. We're going to top off a little bit more on the grassy terrain. And once again, just looking, seeing if there's any way out. There's rain up, there's tailwind up. I have this one remaining turn to be faster than my opponent. I will eventually decide that I'm going to Leaf Blade the Landorus because I need to get a +1 in order to be able to KO Zacian. Unfortunately, I would have needed a crit and probably a high roll to get that. And the Zacian KOs Kartana anyway, so I end up losing there. Time for everyone's favorite part. Why did I lose? Why did I fail? Why am I such a scrub? First and foremost, my opening was pretty good. I had a very strong position for my Landorus. I was able to Dynamax and start putting on the aggression right away. And that leaves the question of, what did I do with my other Pokemon? Unfortunately, what I did with my other Pokemon was switch them out, in and out, back and forth, a little bit unnecessarily, so that my Tornadus and my Kyogre took some unnecessary damage, and I just sustained a lot of extra HP damage that I wouldn't have otherwise needed to take. I should have just committed to the aggression with Landorus and been a little bit more protective of the other Pokemon. Perhaps they could have joined suit or protected and not just swapped out to give free damage on the other side of the field. Secondly, on my second turn of Dynamax, I decided that I was going to Rockfall the Talonflame. Even though it Dynamaxed, it still got KO'd because you throw a Pebble at Talonflame and it gets KO'd. But the real threat to the team, of course, was the Zacian. I should have done Max Quake to the Zacian instead. Now, it was -1 defense because of close combat, but even that isn't necessary. The Max Quake itself is a guaranteed KO against the Zacian, and that's what I should have done instead. At that point, my opponent would be left with Landorus and Talonflame, while I have Kyogre, and what are they going to do against that? The answer is nothing. Alas, that's not what I did, and that's why I lost. That will conclude this week's episode of Why Did I Lose? As usual, I'd love to hear what you thought in the comments. If you would like to support the series, if you want to see more of the series, you like the series, you can like the video, you can subscribe to the channel. Both of those things really help me out a lot. Last but certainly not the least, if you want to see some of this content live, see some of the games that I play on the Pokemon Ranked Ladder, you can join me every Thursday evening at 8:30 p.m. Central Time over at twitch.tv/Bowerdad. Also here are some of my other social channels if you would like to follow me on other platforms. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of their week.